there is something I'd like to talk about real quick. That's Star Wars related. Now, I see this all over YouTube, and I've seen it on TikTok as well. Well, actually, mostly YouTube, of uh, showing like comparisons on like lightsaber battles when it comes to the prequels and the sequels. And I don't disagree on the comment section when they say that they use their lightsabers as like baseball bats. But the reason why I defend it is because, well, for some of you that are hating on the lightsaber battles in the sequels, do you ever stop and think and ask yourself, why do they fight like that? And not like the old Republic that have been trained to do something, to do lightsabers for, well, to fight with lightsabers for years. I mean, let's talk about Kylo Ren here first. For one thing, yes, he was trained by Luke, but he still did not start at like toddler age like the Jedi in the Old Republic. They have been trained with lightsabers and the Force for decades, ever since they were like practically toddlers. They start at a very, very young age. Luke's Jedi Order, they probably started at a much older age. Even Luke Skywalker started at a much older age, which they probably did not have a lot. So obviously they did not have as much training as the Jedi in the Old Republic did. Plus, over the years, when they grew up training, they've learned the forms. They've mastered them. That's why in the prequels, the fights are much more intense, because they've been doing it for years. They've been doing it for a long time, and they've learned the forms as they grew up. Because they started at a much, much younger age. Now, even Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, not later, I'm not talking about after Return of the Jedi. I'm talking about in the original trilogy. Even Luke wasn't even as skilled as the Old Republic. Yes, he was a little more skilled than the people in the sequels, but he was nowhere as close, as skilled as the Jedi in the Old Republic. Because at the time he did not have as amount of training as he did after the original trilogy. After defeating Darth Vader, after the Empire after they defeated the Empire, yes, he did train himself a lot. He did learn all the forms, and he became the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. But that was after he defeated Darth Vader. Before that, he really wasn't as skilled as the Jedi in the Old Republic, because he was still training. But now, he did train Kylo Ren, yes. At a younger age, I don't know. Maybe he was a teenager, maybe he was the same age. But for one thing, I think the reason why he wasn't as skilled as the Old Republic or as Luke is because of this. This is a cross guard. You try swinging this. Well, it's also bulky, but you try swinging this around without accidentally cutting yourself. If this was a real lightsaber, because I think it's the fact that, one, this hilt is bulky, so there's not really much room to to like swing it around and do all those like insane like lightsaber duels, because if he did, he probably would have accidentally cut himself with the crossguard part. And also, I bet you the hilt is probably heavier because. And somebody is saying that yes, the lightsabers are usually lies of feather because of the laser. However, that doesn't mean that the hilts are heavier, or are not heavier. The weight might be unbalanced, but with Kylo Ren's crossguard hilt, I'd say it would be extremely difficult to do intense lightsaber fights like the prequels. Maybe if this thing was like smaller. It's like, because it's kind of hard to get a very good grip on this. If you actually like got one of these, maybe from Galaxy's Edge, or I got the Force FX. I'm not sure about the NeoPixel version because I don't have it. But it'd be very hard to get a grip on this, unlike Obi-Wan Kenobi or Qui-Gon Jinn or even Luke Skywalker. Now, as for Rey, I've heard that yes, she didn't even like use a lightsaber before, and she still fought real good with it. But you also got to remember, she also had fighting skills before she even found the lightsaber. Why do you think she carried that stick around? Like, she carried it around because she knew that she was on a planet that wasn't the most safest, and she carried it around in case she needed to defend herself. But as for Finn and Rey finding this lightsaber, they've never actually had any training at all fighting using a lightsaber, because one, Rey didn't even know that she even had the Force until she didn't even know she even had the Force until she like locked Kylo Ren out of her mind. And she just used this lightsaber in the end to defend herself. So did Finn, and Finn didn't even have the Force. And trust me, I think Finn is actually worse with a lightsaber than Rey. But these are people that never actually had, like, they've never had Jedi training. They never learned any lightsaber forms. They just learned on their own to use the Force. And Rey didn't really have actual Jedi training until Rise of Skywalker, because Luke refused to train her, and all he did was try to prove that he was right. So for those of you that are saying they use their lightsabers as baseball bats, lightsaber fights are not as good as the prequels. Well, like I said, these people haven't had the training like the people in the Old Republic. They just found a lightsaber and they just used it to stay alive. And Rey never really had the proper training until like the beginning of Rise of Skywalker. And I'll bet you if they made an episode 10 and Rey is in it, maybe she might have had more, and maybe she'll train herself more like Luke did, and she might have better lightsaber skills, or maybe not, because it's like Jedi are still like very, very rare, and Rey could be the last like Jedi, literally. So even after Rise of Skywalker, she has no one to train her with lightsaber skills or proper lights. She has no one to actually properly train her with lightsaber combat. And even throughout the sequels, she's never actually had proper training with lightsaber combat until like beginning of Rise of Skywalker. So again, for those of you that are complaining about lightsaber fights being terrible in the sequels, remember, these characters never had the proper training. They never held a lightsaber before until they found it. And they never actually... And Rey was actually more skilled at using the Force than using a saber. I mean... And actually, when social media like puts up a video of like how lightsaber battles are great in the prequels, but for some reason the ones in the sequels are bad. Most of the time they're focused on the duel in Rise of Skywalker and not Force Awakens. If you pay attention in Force Awakens, that fight, but the first fight between Rey and Kylo Ren, that fight was actually not that bad. I honestly like that duel better than one in Rise of Skywalker, because yes, I would say that one did look a bit sloppy, but you also got to remember Rey was like so overwhelmed that she wasn't really focused on skill, and was just literally focused on trying to kill Kylo Ren. So he's just like, she's using it like a baseball bat because she's like desperately trying to kill him because she was scared. As for Rise of Skywalker, yeah, honestly, I don't think that fight was that bad at all. In fact, there was like this one moment where she actually used Form 1. And honestly, I think that fight was pretty good for her first fight. And I think people actually forget about that because they look at the video of they look at the scene of Finn fighting Kylo Ren, and then they show Rey and Kylo Ren in Rise of Skywalker, and then you forget about Rey and Kylo Ren's first duel. But you guys on social media seem to have unrealistic expectations when it comes to lightsaber dueling, just because you saw duels in the prequels. Yes, those duels were pretty insane compared to the sequels, and it's because the prequels are Jedi that have had proper training, and the sequels have people that have not. You're comparing people who have just found a lightsaber and just used it to stay alive and never actually had any proper training of proper lightsaber dueling. You're comparing that to Jedi who have learned the forms, learned how to use the Force ever since they were like really, really young. They've been doing this for years. The people in the sequels have not. I mean, Rey was pretty much very, very new at it. If Jedi actually started at her age and they were very, very new at it, I don't really think they would have been as skilled as they were in the prequels. Not even close. They probably would have. I don't know if they'd use lightsabers like a baseball bat, but I don't really think they would have been as skilled as they were. As for lightsabers not being as deadly as they were in the prequels and sequels, I'm not even sure how I feel about that. I mean, yes, lightsabers are supposed to be hot. They're supposed to cut through anything. But I think some of you also forget that even Luke, like, it's like even Luke tried to like hit, even Luke actually hit Vader with a lightsaber, and it was literally nothing. I'm talking about Empire Strikes Back. It's like he hit him in the shoulder, and nothing actually happened. There was no burn. There was no melt. It's like the armor didn't really melt, and those lightsabers are supposed to cut through anything. As for people being stabbed, I know this is not the sequels, but I've noticed that in the Acolyte, one of them got stabbed. Was it the Acolyte? No, this was Ahsoka, but still, she got stabbed. Someone got stabbed, and I forgot what her name was. Sabine, I think that was what her name was. She got stabbed in the side, but that didn't kill her. In all honesty, though, it's like I think the reason why when people sometimes get stabbed by a lightsaber they don't die, it's because they get stabbed like in the sides. Yes, lightsabers burn, but if you stab them on a certain spot, they probably won't die as fast. As for the people who have actually died from being stabbed by a lightsaber, like Qui-Gon Jinn, for example, for those of you that are comparing people being stabbed in the side and living, and Qui-Gon Jinn being killed by Darth Maul and he dies, he got stabbed in the heart. He literally got stabbed through the heart and out his back. So of course it killed him. I mean, when Rey tried to stab Kylo Ren on the side, that didn't. I mean, yes, she healed him, but it still didn't kill him because, like, she stabbed him in the wrong spot. You stab him in the side, I don't think it's really going to kill you because, one, the heat of the lightsaber burns the blood so you don't bleed out. So that already stops the bleeding. And two, it doesn't really hit all the... I don't think it really hits all the right places to actually instantly kill him. If Rey hadn't healed Kylo Ren, or if Sabine hadn't been rescued and got medical attention, they probably would have died eventually. So in conclusion, for the people who are complaining that lightsaber fights suck now, that's the reason why. And I don't think it's really nothing to complain about, and I really think that some of you, because I think you guys are such fans of the prequels, you people have really high expectations, and some of them are. And when it comes to the sequels, the fights in the original trilogy, if you were comparing it to that, I would have understood. But you're comparing lightsaber duels with the prequels. which that is an unrealistic expectation.